people a little flyer. It's got our events for today. And I was really frustrated this morning, and I printed the wrong back. So I had what's going on afterwards, because afterwards we have a birthday celebration, and we're going to have a potluck and things like that in the cafe. I'm going to have trivia pursuit for a $10 gift certificate. And everyone that has the Table of Grace little emblem on their card, they'll be having a drawing. We'll give $10 away for that today. I also wanted to read you another card we got this week from Toledo. And it says, "Thinking of you, Table of Grace Church, as I often do. Just a little something to let you know. I'm praying for you and the church. God bless you all. Love, Uncle Jim." And a check for $100. So I thank God all the time. Debbie, when I call up the first 12, will you take pictures for me, please? All right. So what I'd like to do right now, sorry, I forgot this. Okay, what I'd like to do right now is there anyone else that would like to give their testimony of how they got here? Betty and Eleanor and Phyllis. Where's Phyllis? Yep. The next week, we had our first service, October 30th. On November the 4th, Barb Redmond and I went into Neaters to pray, like we did every week. And I had my handy dandy spiritual warfare Bible on the table. And these ladies were sitting next to us. Do any of you want to tell the story? Come on, Betty. Today's going to be different. It's not going to be a lot of preaching. We're just going to share how we grew. Is that okay? Or do you want me to preach for an hour and a half? I can do it if you want.
We know you can. But some friends and I were having a sandwich at Neaters. And in comes this cute lady. She puts down her Bible and her phone, her iPhone. And she just disappeared. And I thought, lady, do you know where you are? You know, somebody's going to steal that phone. That
She
stuff
didn't know
does
I
happen.
don't worry about that.
You don't worry about anything. But anyway, I thought, well, I'll keep an eye on it until she gets back. And I said, have any of you guys ever heard of the Spiritual Warfare Bible? No. I said, me neither. And I thought, now that's interesting. So when she finally came back to her seat, I said, I couldn't help but notice the name of your Bible, Spiritual Warfare Bible. You know, that was a kind of an alien concept to me. And she said, oh yes, she said, and I'm the pastor of this church, and we just had our first sermon last Sunday. You should come. Well, we did.
They did. They showed up on Sunday.
We did. And three of us are still here, and we're going to be here forever. But she impacted my life so strongly that after we went back to Wisconsin, which is where our forever home was, we put it on the market. First people that looked at it bought it. We moved here. The rest is history. We are lifers here now. And a lot of it's because of this sweet lady here. And God.
Who else? Come on, you guys got here somehow. Okay. You don't have to get up. This will reach to you. Oh, just hold it up.
I'll get my train going here.
Hi. We left the other church. At that time it was Apache Junction Christian Church, and then it turned into Be Thrive. But we left there and we moved to California because we had some twin babies on the way and we wanted to help out. After we were there for a year, we decided time to come home now. So about that, right before we made the decision, Cindy calls and says, telling us all about her little endeavor here and how she's going to have a cafe and she wanted to have a gifted hand gift shop. And Debbie's dream is a gift shop. So she says, why don't you bring the things you have left from the other church and open the gift shop? So here we came, we visited, and we came. And so now Debbie's working the gift shop for Halo Grace, which is a dream of hers.
Actually, I went to call them to see if they would bring me the stuff so we could sell it for them. I had no idea that they had already heard from God that they were moving back. So that was pretty good. Yvette, come on up. Come on.
Sure you do.
You got to so they can all hear.
Yeah, come on. Yay. I was going to another church more than a year ago, and Cindy was my coach at the time. And I had been sharing with her that I was feeling like I needed to leave this church. And we talked about it and about my reasons and all that kind of stuff. And the Lord told me to follow Cindy around. I didn't know what she had planned or anything, but the Lord told me to stick with her, follow her around. And then she shared with me what her plans were for the church, the cafe and all that. So I went to the church on the first time and I followed her around ever since. And I've never been sorry. I've always had such a great appreciation for Cindy. Always have. I know, but it's you. God's working through you.
You know, it's funny because Yvette really said that to me. She goes, I just want to follow you around for a whole day. And I go, you do? Okay. Follow me around. Who else? How'd you get here? Sue, come here. Your story's pretty unique. You don't have to come up here.
Okay. Hi. Oh, I was from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and the Lord had told me to sell my house, which was very much against what my children's wishes and my grandchildren. They did not want Grandma to sell the house. And so I had been praying and seeking God for about a year after my husband passed away. I felt like I needed to make a change. This was our love nest, and I just needed a fresh chapter in my book. And so I had been waiting on the Lord to help me to know what the next step was. And so anyway, I invited a realtor, and when she left, I was sick to my stomach because I was devastated because she figured that she could get about $20,000 less than what we even paid for the place, and we put thousands of dollars of renovating and updating and all of this. So anyway, I said, well, Lord, what do I do? Well, 2 nights later, I was sitting in my living room in the recliner, and the phone rang, and this young man said, hi, my name is Brian Glory, and a friend of mine told me that you might be wanting to sell your house. Could I come and look at it? And I said, yeah, you can. So the next day he came, and when he stepped over the threshold, he said, oh, there's such an awesome presence here. What is that? And so I shared with him that this was a sanctuary of the Lord, that the Lord lived here, and he and I communed with each other and all that. And the first realtor told me I had to take down all of my faith decor and all this and that, and that was the part that just really grieved me, because I thought that's what made my home, you know, a home. Anyway, so as he was going through it, oh yes, I can sell this. Oh yes, I can sell this. And I said, are you going to want me to take down all my faith decor? And oh no, he said, that's what makes this home. I knew he was sent there from God. To make a long story short, in that aspect of my move, is that he listed we agreed on the price that he was gonna list it for, and as he was driving his car back to his office to get everything in the works, what do you call it, the media stuff, the iPhones and the Facebook and all of that kind of stuff, he was gonna be putting it on. Well, on the way back to his office, the Lord spoke to him and said, no, that is not the price, and gave him the price of what it was to sell for. And it was 30,000 more than what I had thought. And it sold in 3 days above our asking price, because I had several offers on it and that. So then I had to move out immediately because the young couple that purchased the home, she was a school teacher. This was the end of August, and school would be starting after Labor Day. And so I had to get all my grandkids and my children over there to pack and get me moved. My daughter, I didn't know she was doing this, that lived in Glenpool, she and her children had made a suite for Grandma to move into. And so we moved in and lived with my daughter for about 7 months. And for 3 nights in a row, I kept having the same dream. In 2004, my husband and I had come to Arizona. His sister lives in Mesa. And they had been after us to move out here. And so we went to this here manufactured home park for seniors. And we really liked it. And thought, you know, that's neat. Someday we'll do this. And then, but in the dream, I was going through this park looking at new homes again. And it was just 3 nights in a row, the same dream. And I said, Lord, what are you telling me? And then 2 days later, a friend of mine that lives in Texas, now she didn't know anything about this. And then she said, girl, what's going on with you? And I said, why? And she said, I see you catapulting to Arizona. And this beautiful mountain, and up in the clouds is your Don's face, my husband. And he said, go for it, girl. Go for it, honey. Whoa. Okay. So I go to church, and the pastor had a word for me of that he'll even relocate you and establish you in a new area because he has a mission for you. Well, in my heart, I felt like I was supposed to visit Arizona. My friend Peggy, that was a school teacher in Miami Globe, was needing some help. She was having some health issues and things like that. And I didn't know how severe the health issues were until I got there the 5th of December. And that. So to make that long story short, I helped her pack and get moved, and she's moved in with me. And on Easter, I've been asking and going visiting different churches, and I've been asking, isn't there a good church around here that really believes the Word of God and the move of the Spirit and that? And you know, I'd get a list of names of churches, and I'd visit and that, and it just wasn't the fit for me. It wasn't. And then at my clubhouse, they said, well, we're having a sunrise service, and there's an interdenominational church. They're going to be coming and ministering. And I said, oh, so I went, and that's where I met Cindy and met many of you at that time. And so that's how I got here. Isn't the Lord amazing?
I think that was so cool when she told me I came from Oklahoma, no family. I'm supposed to be here, and God sends her here. I don't know what God's going to do with her, but Bday, where's Bday? Do you want to share? You brought half the church with you. I love her story also. And this is what God's doing. He's just bringing people together that are supposed to be here. Last night, she and Nick and their family were just such a big help to the trunk or treat, too. Thank you so much.
Okay, I had been going to a different church for a while, and I felt like if I wasn't getting fulfilled spiritually, so I kind of started making excuses why not to go to church, which is bad, but that's what I did. And one Sunday, Nick had to work, and I just pretty much got all the kids ready, and I said, we're gonna find a church. And then I told Caden, I said, you're going to pray because we're going to find a church. And then he's like, okay, Mom. So then we were on our way to go visit a different church. And then Caden's like, well, why don't we try here? And then something kept on pulling me towards this direction. And I was like, there's nothing there. And especially since my kid's pediatrician is like right down there. So I was like, there's nothing there. So then I kept on getting pulled and getting pulled. And then finally I decided to listen to the Lord, and I pulled up and I parked. And I was like, okay, now what? And it just so happened that Vicky parked right next to me. And then she invited me in. So I was like, okay. And then, so then Vicky invited me in, and then the kids just fell in love with it. And then they said, this is our new place, Mom. And ever since then, I told my mom about it, and I told my aunt, I said, you will really like it. You will get filled spiritually. I said, I did after just the first day of coming. So then I brought my mom, and I brought my stepfather, and then I brought my aunt, my uncle, and a few cousins. So now we're all going here.
Thank you, sweetie. Thanks for doing that. Who else? Anybody? Okay. Well, now what I'd like to do is, can you bring up, go down one more, honey. Our 12 charter members. Would you like to meet the first 12? You see them every week on the Table of Grace song where it says, may the first, that's the first. Their pictures are on the front of your little handout. I would like them all to come up. We're missing Marnie. And would you add Marnie to our prayer list? Marnie had an episode this year, and she really, really got sick, and she hasn't been back since. But she's in my heart and prayers all the time. So we love Marnie. And I hate to do this without her, but Colin, can you put that picture up? There's the first 12. And unfortunately, Bob's out of town today. But come on up, all 12 of you. You know, and what was so funny, we laughed that day because remember, I thought it was going to be 7, and it turned out to be 12. And what did Jesus start with? That was a little sign, wasn't it? So I have a little certificate for, oh, she needs help. Okay. Joanna came in that day and just shocked me. I remember when the door opened, and she thought it was at 10:30, and it was at 10 o'clock, but I was so grateful to see her. And that's just a thank you. This says, thank you, Table of Grace. Couldn't have done it without you. 1 year, charter member, October 29th, 2017. Here, move that chair over.
No, he's going on Rich.
Okay. And then my good buddies, Clark and Lorraine, these were our first neighbors and friends when we moved to Arizona, and I'm telling you, without them, I don't think I could have stayed. So I'm so grateful. Thank you very much. And they showed up to be our support that day. Where's my buddy Yvette? Here's my little tag girl. And then Richard would come to our other church, and he showed up that day. He came to the night prayer service before the election. I'm so grateful to have you. Thank you. And Cheryl and Bob, I think you all know what they mean to me and how much they've done for this church, and I'm just so grateful to you guys. I wish Bob was here too. And then Beth and Stuart. This is my spiritual sister, and they just mean the world to me too. And Bob and Cheryl and Beth and Stuart were so faithful. They would meet with us and pray and pray and pray. We had no idea what we were doing, did we? And we still say we can't believe it. But I don't like to say that. And then I did make one for Rich and me. Of course, we were there. And I couldn't do it without this guy. And this is our original 12, minus our sweet little Marnie. And Bob. Yeah. So what do you think? Yay. Now look, you're all the charter first year members, okay? Next year I'll bring you all up and you'll know. And then we'll show all the second year people, right? Thank you guys. Do anyone?
Hold it up on your. Okay, when we were talking about how we came here. And I was with Cindy with the new group for just a couple months, and then I was off to Jerusalem for 3 months, and that was by myself. So that was it was exercise in courage and trusting the Lord. But my very last day there, and I guess the rabbi was going to take me to the airport, but he had, he was called to do something else. So I had to get all my suitcases out to the sidewalk, which was a long walk, and leave them out there. And it was just kind of like, all of it was an exercise in love and courage. And all of a sudden the phone rang, and it was Cindy. And I just thought, oh my goodness, her mother's heart, and she was listening to the Holy Spirit. And she just wondered how I was and let me know I was covered in prayer, but God's timing was perfect. It was perfect. So, yeah. So I give thanks with all my heart.
Yeah, just from Cindy and I'd like to thank Lieutenant Bday counting us for everything that you've done and backed her. It's been a real help. Then I want to thank everybody that's in this church today, because without you, we wouldn't have it. And Cindy and I love every one of you. We feel you make the church, and we're going to build. We're going to keep going. We're not going to be alone. We will expand. We will do it. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Stuart, you want to say something? All right. You always surprise us.
I just want to thank all the people here, because I'm kind of bashful myself, but the Lord has just kept prodding us to step up and just do whatever needs to be done. And He just amazes me every time I come here. He's doing something and moving people, and people are just coming in and saying, I can feel the presence. And it's like, yeah, every time you walk in this building, you can feel it. And it's Him that's growing this church. We just along for the ride.
I just wanted to say a couple words. If it wasn't for this precious lady, Cindy, and God, of course, but she was the big instigator of wanting to start this church, and she saw the vision, and we just followed. And it has been fabulous, absolutely fabulous. I've never been in a church where the Holy Spirit was so present.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, I usually do this. No problem, it's probably because she's holding on to me.
It's just a little overwhelming, I'm sorry. It's been fabulous for me, absolutely. It's changed my life.
And I think you all know how much we love you, and that touches our heart, don't we? And to look out here a year later and see this many wonderful, not just people, but wonderful, spirit-filled people that have moved and listened to God and grown in God. I don't know what next year is going to be, but I know it's going to be amazing and great and good, and we're going to be praising Him all the rest of the days that we're on earth, and then we're going to all sing together in joy in heaven. So we love you guys, and thank you, thank you, thank you. I just thank God that He sent me Antoinette. When we started, everybody kept saying, don't do too much. Everybody was concerned about me, and I'd say, I'm okay. But God knew I needed that lady right there. So thank you, and thank God for her. Let's stand and worship God. You ready? Yes. Ready. The first song is what? Thank you, Lord. You ready? I want to hear you guys.